Hi, everyone. My name is Radha Kumari, and I'm a staff engineer on demand engineering team at Slack. For those who don't know what demand engineering is, we are a distributed team of SREs who ensure that bytes flow in and out of Slack as expected. I joined Slack back in 2017, just after finishing my master's in computer science. And I've worked through many technologies over the last 6 years, from MySQL to Memcache to console, and currently Envoy.
Hi, I'm Margarita. I'm a software engineer on demand engineering team at Slack. And actually for many years, I worked in the creative industry. And my journey into programming started in 2021 when I wrote my first line of code at Codio Future. And since then, I've been on a thrilling journey of change.
Hello, my name is Berkeli, and I'm also a software engineer in the demand engineering team at Slack. I'm a refugee who was originally born in Turkmenistan, and I got into coding quite early on during my school years, as I used to compete in Olympiads. But resettling in the United Kingdom was quite a long and tedious journey, so I didn't really follow it as a career. That was up until recently, where I found out about Codio Future, and they played a vital role in me being able to get back into coding.
So, why are we here today? What are we going to talk about? How do we teach planet-sized engineering with toy-sized projects? How do we teach people without resources? And how do we learn to mentor our juniors? Software infrastructures and operations are hard to break into. I know Jennifer and Catalina talked about graduates in SRE program. Most computer science graduates are not well prepared for this, but there are pathways like internships that exist. For non-graduates, the doors are shut and bolted. There are diversity programs out there, but they don't target SRE or infrastructure type skills. There are diversity programs out there, but they don't target non-graduates. That is a lot of talent to lose. In next 28 minutes or so, we're going to talk about how Slack partnered with Codio Future to build a volunteer team of industry professionals, designed an innovative curriculum and work placement to find and nurture promising new talent. You will also hear firsthand what it was like for two of those engineers who went through the course and the work placement, what they learned, what was difficult, and how this changed their outlook on software engineering. But before that, what is Codio Future?
So Codio Future is a non-profit organization that helps people who need it the most to achieve their goals of working in tech. All of their classes are free, and all of their teachers are volunteers. Codio Future's main program focuses around the Perl stack, which is Postgres, Express, React, and Node. And their students are taught web development with a strong emphasis on collaboration and product development via tech projects. Around 70% of Codio Future graduates find employment in tech within 4 months after graduating. And some of those students work at great companies like Capgemini, the Financial Times, the BBC, Deloitte, and more.
And now let's talk about what is CYF Plus and how is it different from the main Codio Future program. And before that, for those who are unaware, in 2018, Slack launched a program called Next Chapter in the USA to train formerly incarcerated people right there at Slack. And the success of that program inspired Slack to explore new ways to create job opportunities for those traditionally overlooked. Slack for Good made connections, and this is how now demand engineering team got to talk to the Codio Future team. It started from a discussion about what kind of programs that exist today and what the industry actually needs more of. There are many great bootcamps out there, but many of them focus on front-end development, leaving a significant gap in SRE and infrastructure training. And the main question was, how do you break down skills needed to succeed as an ops or infrastructure type of role? And how do you build curriculum? How do you give people the solid foundation to be successful in site reliability and infrastructure? And this is how CYF Plus began to emerge. It started as an experiment. So to sum up, CYF Plus is a full-time immersive engineering program focused on core skills to be successful site reliability or infrastructure engineer.
Right. So, right, you may be wondering, okay, CYF Plus focuses on SRE, which is nice, I hope. But why should any company partner with CYF? We all know learning SRE skills comes with challenges like anything new. There is a lot to learn. You can start as a computer science graduate and break into tech. That is the traditional path. Most of us here learn on the job. As already mentioned, there are diversity programs, but most of them focus on front-end development, computer science graduates, or both. The focus here is SRE. CYF Plus creates more inroads for those traditionally overlooked into this ever-changing specialty, ultimately helping them break into a rewarding job. We are building talent for the future. People can learn. It's not magic. We've all had experiences where we had interns joining in the team. Team pours in a lot of time and effort and energy, but in the end, for some reason, it doesn't work out. We want to make sure that our junior engineers have the right foundational skills and hands-on experience. We want more reliability and confidence when we are hiring junior engineers. Working alongside the trainees every day gives you that. CYF Plus can give you that. I don't need to tell you all the importance of mentorship in tech or anywhere in general. But it is important to call out that we as mentors are learning as much as the mentees. We must grow talent, and we must do this effectively. How to communicate effectively. As professionals, we are so used to using fancy jargons that we sometimes forget. In order to help these mentees grow, we need to first understand where they are. We need to first reach them. And lastly, we're doing some good. We are making a difference in the lives of the people who deserve more opportunities than life has given them. With that, let's look at the program overview. CYF and SLAC volunteers work together to design this course. The entire engineering program was divided into 3 phases. 1 month of self-study, 3 months of intensive engineering training program, and then 9 months of internship at SLAC, which we're going to talk about in the later slides. Before the course started, both mentors from SLAC and CYF curated some reading materials and primers for our trainees. This was to give them an introduction or, foundational knowledge before they started the training. Call this as setting the stage. The projects during the training program were mostly focused on 3 domains: programming, systems and troubleshooting, and distributed systems. We believed that these would be the 3 main areas that our trainees would need in order to succeed in a software, infra, or ops, or SRE type role. We wanted our trainees to be comfortable in programming in languages other than JavaScript, which is what the main CYF program focuses on. Golang has become super popular in the last couple of years, so we chose Go for the programming projects. We had a clear goal. we did not set out to build experts in any of these areas. Absolutely impossible in the time available. We set out to lay down the foundation that will enable our trainees to make progress by themselves. We designed this course to make or create many encounters with all the mistakes juniors make. Not communicating, overworking, poor prioritization, silent drowning, and so on. We wanted to make sure that, we wanted to make those mistakes together, survive them, and learn from them. The entire program was divided into 5 sprints, each 2 weeks long, with a total of 13 projects. Each sprint had one or more projects with some relevant reading. The projects were a mix of practical troubleshooting exercises, sysadmin stuff, but largely focused on developing software in Golang. If that was not enough, throughout the course, our trainees also worked on a product that is internally used at Codio Future. The idea was to give them a real-world experience, prioritizing work, time management skills, balancing production versus feature work, and so on. You can see the list of projects on the right-hand side. Important thing to note here is even though the program included a lot of technologies that we use in the team at Slack, we wanted to make sure that we didn't overfit it to Slack's need. We wanted it to be generic. Enough. Since systems is such a big part of an SRE's life, we wanted our trainees to be comfortable with that. The main CYF course focuses on debugging, but debugging isn't the same as troubleshooting. So we designed 5 troubleshooting exercises, 1 for each sprint with increased difficulty. We started with fixing broken servers, which is similar to what a lot of companies, including Slack, uses for interviews, and ended with having them debug broken console server setup. Why not? Every 2 weeks on Mondays, we came together for a sprint planning. It was a time for our trainees to estimate workload, do prioritization, and track progress. Every Fridays, our trainees gave a mid-sprint and end-of-sprint demo with feedback and questions from the volunteers who joined. We also set up daily stand-ups at Slack. This was aimed at getting our trainees talking in public about their progress, their issues, instead of suffering in silence or waiting for office hours, which may be days away. If you haven't guessed already with the number of projects listed, pace of the work was intentionally challenging. So is the real world of work. We explicitly set out too much of work so that our trainees would have to learn to prioritize and push back on some of the tasks because that is also a critical real-world software infrastructure or engineering skill. Lastly, the whole program was untaught. They didn't attend any classes or lectures. Trainees were given projects alongside a set of tools and technologies, and it was up to them to break those down into small tasks, plan, prioritize, and then work. As mentors, we made sure that the projects were well defined in terms of scope and requirement. When needed, they could book a slot in any of the Codio Future volunteers to discuss any challenges or issues they may be facing. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Rita and Berkeli to talk about their experiences.
So to share a little bit about our experiences throughout the program and our work placement at Slack. When we initially joined the program, we knew very little about Go and distributed systems in general. So we started out by learning the basics of Go and building out simple CLI tools. But with every new sprint, we had new projects to work on and new concepts to learn within those projects. As we got more comfortable with Golang, we were asked to build monitoring stacks and implement OpenTelemetry tracing and find issues within existing code bases. Our final and by far the most complex project was Raft.L, which required us to read a scientific publication on Raft consensus algorithm and implement a distributed key value store that used the Raft algorithm underneath. This was quite challenging to us because, well, first of all, we had no prior experience of reading scientific publications, and let alone interpreting them as code. So one of the things that I enjoyed the most about this program is the freedom to experiment. So as Radha mentioned, we had many projects that had very thorough descriptions and goal set, but we were free to find our own path to that goal. Take, for instance, the batch processing project, which required us to build out a batch processing pipeline that could download images from a given CSV file with image URLs. You can see a small architecture there, and then convert them into grayscale and upload them to block storage, and then produce a CSV report with what happened to them. So I initially built this application out as a monolith application, but after a discussion with one of our mentors during the mentor office hours, there was a strong case made to build it out as a distributed application. The result looked something like this, which had standalone applications for each stage of the pipeline, and it used Kafka as a messaging bus to communicate between the apps. So the transition came with its own challenges, such as shared storage and coordination between these apps, but overall it resulted in better scalability, in better the application was more resilient and also gave us invaluable insights into distributed systems. And that brings us to mentor office hours during the program. So we didn't have any classes to attend, but we had our mentors to guide us, who were not only reviewing our code and answering our questions, but they were also challenging our decisions and thus steering us in the right direction.
As Radha mentioned before, we had weekly presentations of our work, and it was in an open format. These sessions covered various aspects, including discussions for challenges of the project, sharing progress updates, but sometimes it was just brainstorming ideas and sort of like exploring interesting topics. But what made it even better is that our audience wasn't composed exclusively of engineers. It included people with different roles in tech industry. And that's what helped us to learn how to clearly deliver technical information to a wider range of professionals. What else? Well, Linux. When I first started learning Linux, it was tough. I often felt overwhelmed with the complexity of Linux documentation. And my initial approach was to read through documentation and sort of try some commands that hopefully won't break my computer. But what really helped were troubleshooting exercises. We were fortunate to work with purposely broken Linux systems designed to practice. It was like a safe playground to sharpen our troubleshooting skills. And at first, I wanted to rush through the exercises, get to the right answer as quick as possible, and just forget about it. But soon I realized that keeping a record of what I tried, what worked, what didn't, was just as important. And now, when we work in a big team, spread across different time zones, dealing with really complex computer systems, I'm really grateful to my mentors because they insisted on documenting our work from the beginning, and these detailed notes that ever-changing and expanding are now like crucial tool in my everyday work because I can recognize familiar issues quick and deal with them efficiently. I would like to mention weekly calls with my mentors, both during the course and the work placement, and how incredibly they are for my learning. They gave me the support and guidance I needed to stay on track. When I was trying to understand difficult technologies for the first time, to just being able to talk through my thoughts, support visually what I was thinking, and ask questions on the spot was honestly a game changer. My mentors gave me personalized feedback and helpful advice in general. And this experience showed just how vital having a mentor could be for someone's growth. And I encourage others to consider to become mentors, because it's honestly a rewarding way to make a big difference in someone's journey and build strong connections. And finally, I'd like to talk about the financial support we received during this program and how important, what important role it played for this journey. The course, as you see, covered a lot of material, and it required a ton of practice. Just imagine being ready for work placement at Slack in just 3 and 4 months while holding down a full-time job. I personally think that that would be almost impossible. But thanks to the financial support we received, we could fully focus on our studies, deep dive into all the topics, and try different approaches to the projects, just like Berkeli mentioned before. The support allowed us to avoid distractions and truly excel. And now allow us to tell a bit more about the work placement at Slack.
So after the program, we started out at Slack as interns and began our exciting onboarding journey. The demand engineering has a bespoke onboarding process tailored around the services that we own. But thankfully, we already hands-on experience with some of these technologies during the program, so that made the onboarding process a little bit easier for us. And at the same time, after joining Slack, we were also assigned our wonderful mentors, Radha and Rafa, who's also in the audience today, who wasted no time in assigning us our first project. The gist of the project was to essentially audit and codify an existing suite of external monitoring tests, which were originally created via a point-and-click approach. The goal of the project was to better utilize our resources, reduce costs, and gain that invaluable change control over these tests. Whilst the scope of the project was well-defined even prior to us joining Slack, it still came with a lot of surprises, and thankfully we had our mentors to support us throughout this project. Overall, the project was a great success with over 200 tests codified with Terraform and builds reduced by around 30%. And in parallel to our first primary project, our mentors and our team in general were on the lookout for starter tickets, which would be well-defined small tasks that to get us, I guess, acquainted with some of the services our team owned. Some examples could be resolving security vulnerabilities based on CVE reports, exporting additional metrics, and so on.
We use Slack for communication. We have dedicated channels to different projects, services, and onboarding, which makes finding answers to questions a breeze. What's even better that our team, our colleagues are very active in responding to questions. There is also a wealth of past conversation that we can search through. So overall, adapting to the team was quite smooth. Plus, Slack and Salesforce provide us a really good learning material, how to be experts in this tool and apply it in our work. And since day one, we attend core meetings, including incident reviews, vendor discussions, and weekly production updates. And I'm not gonna lie, like many details during these meetings were going like over my head for the first few months. But I think the biggest lesson wasn't about getting into these details straight away, but gaining an insight of team's approach to tackle challenges, to apply best practices in various aspects of work, starting from obviously technical issues, but also communication and problem solving. And although I just said we've been involved in the real production and dealing with real systems from day one, overall the pace of work is really well balanced. It gives us time to keep learning and also get to know our immediate team and a broader company better. We are aware that this isn't a short-term course anymore. It's a long-term investment from both us and the company. And so in essence, it's like, it's not a sprint, but a marathon. And the success is shaped by both the professional and personal health. And on that note, back to you, Radha.
So, what did we learn along the way? CYS Plus has been a great success for us. The experiment worked. Both our interns were offered a full-time role after 6 months. It's gratifying to see how fast they can hit the ground running. Thanks to this program, it is possible to build a course to prepare our junior technologists for working in a real-world software infrastructure role. It is a lot of work. Trainees need to be motivated and willing to work through a lot of hard and frustrating challenges. With the untaught nature of this course, the trainees have to learn to succeed. There is nowhere to hide, but it is rewarding. We have watched them grow and learn a ton since they started. It is evident that they know so much more than when I did when I started my career, which was 7 years ago and 3 months, so you can imagine. The point is not to get the students to pass the course. There is no pass or fail, but it is to make them successful afterwards. We taught them how to learn on the job. We wanted them to be able to join an organization and not be overwhelmed with a ton of things that they have never seen or heard of before. Being able to do this full-time is vital. This does require a bit of planning, as some companies also require you to have some headcounts so you can make permanent offer at the end of the work placement. It's an implementation detail, but an important one to call out. But the point stands. If you want to nurture new talent, students have to be paid. Trainees will need some one-to-one support and mentoring. This scales, but not infinitely. Imagine you are there for someone through sadness, sorrow, frustration, joy, excitement, and all the other emotions that human can exhibit. Exhibit is wrong, but you get the gist. Not just that, a certain level of manager advocacy is required. You need to have folks who are going to advocate for this program and give their engineers time and space to participate as mentors. It is a growth opportunity for both CYF Plus folks and the company engineers. So we think CYF Plus is incredible, and we need you all to help us, partner with us in growing it. You can read our free and open source curriculum, or you can help us by joining our volunteering team. It's just a form away. Or you can also become a CYF Plus corporate partner. Tell your company and connections about the extraordinary things that this program has achieved, and join us in achieving more. We all have our choices to make. We can either complain or take the opportunity and grow this program. Thank you.